What's up everybody, Imitation here, and hey, we're back! I really hope you guys stick around for the whole video because what I want to talk about today is very, very important to me, and I've been thinking about it for a while. And if you have a channel, this is going to apply to you so much more than just anybody else who just watches this video. I mean, it's important no matter what, but if you have a channel, this is a message for you too. Before I get into the meat of the conversation, I want to say that I wrote what I wanted to say down like 6 times. And every time that I wrote it down, I realized that if I try to read off of something, or if I look at this as a reference tool between cuts and edits, it's just going to sound so contrived and forced, and I didn't want it to come across like that. What I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to give you my thoughts from my heart, off the cuff, from my head. That's the way I've always done these vlogs, and even though this is very important, I want to hit all my bullet points, or whatever you want to call them, I don't want to sacrifice my feelings coming across just because I had a list. I'm gonna say the most obvious statement right off the bat. Being a YouTuber is really freaking hard, and anyone who is serious about it, and you know who you are, that comes as no surprise. Whether it's making the content, editing the content, being original, standing out amongst all the people in the world, the list goes on and on and on. But it is a very, very tough thing to do, and one of the hardest things that I have ever done. And hey, I'm not successful at it yet, so I can't even really say how much harder it's going to be. All I can think of is just how hard it's been and how I expect the climb to be harder and harder, and my willingness to embrace that grind. It's definitely a daunting thought. But my point is, it wasn't always this hard. It's always been hard. Don't get me wrong. If you are a successful YouTuber and you're watching me right now thinking, no, it was always hard, I'm not saying it wasn't. It absolutely has always been hard. But it's harder now. And let me explain. I don't want anyone to get upset at that. I just want to explain to you what I mean. If we go back years and years, then we look at the landscape of what YouTube was, and it was a very different world. Back then, being a new breath of fresh air wasn't as hard as it is right now. And a lot of that has to do with the phrase, imitation is the best form of flattery. When you look at a Markiplier, or a Jacksepticeye, or a PewDiePie, you always see channels who try to imitate what that person does. I'm not saying they're wrong for doing it. They are very inspired by that person, and I get it. They want to replicate some of what they admire in other people. It's the ones who take it to the next level, though, who become successful. They take a little bit from this person and that person, and they put it into their own set of skills to be that unique next big thing that everybody wants to watch. But when that happens, when someone does that, and they break through those walls and those barriers, new walls are built and new barriers are made, and let me take a moment to just explain what I mean by that. Now, there is more room for new Let's Players, there is more room for more people who want to occupy that space, but the unique factor just goes down and down and down over time. When PewDiePie or Markiplier were starting out their channels, they were a unique person then. Someone saw them, kind of did what they did, but just a little bit different, and then that person became unique, and so on and so forth, and that keeps going for so long until becoming unique is, it kind of becomes like the American Idol. It's like you've heard this song before, you've heard this voice, you've seen things similar, and it's so much harder to stand out. Now, nobody who's successful on YouTube did anything wrong. They did exactly what they're supposed to do. It just makes people have to think a whole lot harder on what they need to do to become that next big thing. In comes the meat of the conversation. This is what I wanted to talk about. I just needed that little backstory to get to this point. On November 24th, 2015, something was announced that could potentially change the landscape of how people were discovered on YouTube, and that is Revelmode. Revelmode is a new network for YouTubers that is primarily a close-knit group of friends at the moment, but it's also backed by a giant network called Maker. The way that PewDiePie described this was it was another network, but one that could be maybe more reliable, and it would help in the discovery of new great content on YouTube for Let's Players. Now, as of right now, all the people a part of Revelmode are giant YouTube celebrities. I get that you want to have a gigantic foundation to start, and trust me, they do. But here's where what I really want to drive home comes into play. Revelmode and whoever has control of that network, please listen to what I'm going to say here. You guys have such a unique opportunity on your hands to go out there and discover actual channels that may not have a chance otherwise besides your eyes and your attention. And I mean something very specific when I say that. My hope for the network is that you're not just going to look at view counts and subscriber counts to determine who you contact and who you try to get involved with when it comes to Revelmode. My plea is that you go out into the community and you look at those channels that have less than 1,000 subscribers, less than 50 views on a video, because you have to remember the one big thing over time with anything in life is that saturation makes it hard to stand out. Now, don't take this as a way of me saying, hey, look at me, look at my channel. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm really trying to say is there is a really great opportunity for you guys to change the landscape of YouTube and not just reward those who are winning the popularity contest, but reward those who are having a hard time standing out. I know people who go to work all day long and come home and fit as much editing and recording time into the tiniest little window before they have to wake up early the next morning and go back to work and do it all over again. Some of you might be able to relate to that because I know a lot of you started out the exact same way. Me personally, I have a job to where I work 14-hour-long days with people with autism and severe behavior disorders, and that can drain you. Then I come home to 3 children, I spend as much time with them as possible, and I edit and do all my recordings in the middle of the night. The channel's been going for about a year and we just hit 2,400 subscribers not long ago, and it takes every bit of my effort to get it there. Again, that's just a couple examples with millions of examples out there of people working just as hard, if not harder, to make their dreams a reality. I know I personally can't see myself doing anything else. I get tempted to go to school for graphic design, I was a cage fighter, and I've had other goals that I wanted to accomplish, but this is the first thing that I've actually sat down and said, whoa, I've got to do this with my life. But the fact of the matter is that I know the uphill battle I have. I know this is going to be a fight from start to finish, and I'm willing to fight that fight. But don't think for 1 second I don't sit down every single day and say, how in the hell am I going to beat these odds? And that's really where you guys come in. You can go take a YouTuber who is just struggling to get past 200 subscribers, and you can pluck them out of a land of obscurity, and you can look at their channel with a fine-tooth comb and say, this person has potential, and you can take them and make their dreams a reality because they would have had no other hope otherwise. So to wrap all of this up, it's really a fear. More than anything else, it's a fear that I have that Revelmode might end up being this boys club, if you will, for the most popular. Now, if anybody from Revelmode is watching this, I'm not saying that's what you're doing. That's just a personal fear that I have because not a lot of information about it is out. Please, guys, go out and find those channels that have less than 30 views per video, but they've been doing it for 4 years, because that shows real drive and determination that is just hard to come by. And these people just may not have any other way to stand out, and you might be their only hope. So I hope that my message came across. It was a little convoluted. I'm kind of all over the place. It took me like 45 minutes to even record this thing. Before I go, I do want to say a couple things. One, the 1-year anniversary for the channel is this Saturday. It's also my birthday. I don't really know what made me start my channel on my birthday. I guess because it was just easier to remember. But I am doing a Q&A. I sent out a tweet the other day about it, and I'm getting some really funny questions. If you want to ask me a question for the Q&A, just put them down in the comments, and I will promise you that I will get to them and I will read them. And, you know, if you want a shout out, maybe put your channel link down there too. I'm just so excited right now. I'm so grateful because this channel has given me the opportunity to do things that I just didn't think that I could do. I've gotten to talk to awesome people like Greg Kasavin, who is the creative director and writer of Bastion and Transistor. I've gotten to talk to Anna Rosa Butler from the game Contradiction Spot the Liar. Her and Rupert Booth, who was the lead in that game, who played Jinx, did a skit for the channel. I've spoken with Austin Walker and Patrick Klepek and Samantha Coleman. It's been so awesome. And there is another episode of What They Play with a new interview coming up soon, but I'm not going to say who it is yet because it's a surprise. And I think I'm going to end this video here. I do love every single one of you. You make every moment of all of the hard edits and the crazy things that I have to come up with worth it. I love it because I get messages that come back to me that say, you made my day, you made me smile. And if I make one person smile out of all of this, I've always said this, it's worth it. Because isn't that what it's really all about? It's making you happy? But this is the end of the video, and that means there's just one more thing left to say. You know the drill. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, become one of the Titans, and I'll see you guys in the next video!